Hi guys, welcome back. Today I want to show you this technique that I really love doing with these ink pads, and it's blending it all together to make a gorgeous galaxy background. This is one of my favorite techniques for this. So for a galaxy background, when you think of a galaxy, you think of pinks and yellows, and you think of the Milky Way, and you think of all those like stars being born, and it's all different colors. And so I've chosen the 5 bright colors that stood out to me, which is picked raspberry, mustard seed, peacock feather, salty ocean, and wilted violet. You don't have to use these colors exactly, but these ones, and you don't have to use this amount. You could just use pink, or just pink and blue, any colors, up to you, it's your choice. So I chose these 5. You don't see it here, but I also chose Blueprint Sketch, which is a darker blue. That one is to completely, I will show you what I will do with that. That's a basic color that you need as well as the black soot. So here I am using a foam blending brush. I just pick up the colors, and then I just do random parts, and I just blend it in. And I'm using Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. Here it is. Here's a blueprint sketch. I'm using that cardstock because it allows the inks to stay on the surface. It doesn't absorb the ink as quickly as other cardstocks do. So this one is a really good paper to be working on for when you want to do blending. It makes it easier for you to smooth out and blend properly. I took the blueprint sketch and I covered the entire card, and I dried it in between so that it didn't smudge and become all murky and brown. So here is the blue, and now I took the black, and I think my black has run out. I need to buy a re-inker for this. And I'm just blending in and adding like the depths and shadows, and to make it a proper black galaxy. It is a lot of work. You do have to keep blending. And one tip is, do not start on the middle. Like as you can see, I start from the edges and I bring the color in. Otherwise you get the shape of the sponge onto your paper, and if you leave it too long, you won't be able to blend it out. So a lot of blending and keep going. It's like, eyeshadow. You have to keep blending to get a right look. It's just like that. Now I took my water bottle spritzer and I spritzed some water and then dabbed it off with a towel. And here you can see there were some parts I didn't cover it in black, and it does look like a galaxy. But what will make it pop is these white flecks of stars. Take some acrylic paint and a bit of water, add it to your stamping block, and using the brush just flick off the edge and you get these clusters of stars. I use this stamp set from Paper Smooches. It's called Space Cadet and it's an old one. I stamp out the earth using extreme black ink, and I stamp it onto some Nina Solar White cardstock. Now to color in the sea, I'm using B000 and B14. I start off with B14 and I just color in the edges, and then I take the B000 and use that to blend the colors. But obviously, because it's not close to each other on the numbers, I do this technique where you do tip to tip to get an in-between shade, and this is what Copic coloring is best for. As you can see, I did manage to get a great blend. I do it again for this side of the sea, and I just love it. It's first time using it. I can't wait to build my collection. I bought a few flesh tones and some sea colors as well. So my next order is going to have more of the primary colors, so yellows and red, more blues and green. Definitely I need. As you can see, DG2 and DG3 from Spectrum Noirs, they're close to each other on the numbers and the tip. You can see the lid. The numbers are close to each other, but I'm still struggling to blend it out, so I have to do that tip to tip. That's why I'm moving over to Copic markers, because it's just simple. Now I don't have the dies for this set, so what I found was that in this packet of circle dies, I have a die that matches this shape, like is exactly the same sizes. So I just run that through my die cut machine, and there was a bit of excess left over, so I trimmed that part off to make it all nice and neat. I take the background panel and I cut it down to size. I cut it to 5.5 and 4.25. It's the standard card panel size. Now they took the sentiment, and actually it's an ayah from the Quran, a verse from the Quran, and I didn't like how it looked a bit empty, so I took out 2 of the other planets from the stamp set and inked that up, and going to be colouring in them soon. I did a really basic colouring here, nothing special. CR10 to cover the whole of the planet, and then I took CR8, which is a darker shade, and just filled in the crater. I didn't have anything in mind, that just went with the flow. Well, I was actually thinking of doing complementary colours, or colours that won't like disappear amongst the background, which is the galaxy background. So the simple shading for the yellow, I mean it looks similar, but there is shading there. And then I took the smallest die from that die set and used that to cut out the shapes. I don't remember the name of the set that I got. I know that Hero Arts have this set as well. It's called the Infinity Circle dies. I also cut out one of the planets. I fussy cut them just to show that you don't need the dies itself. And now it fills out the space quite well. And I fix up that little splatter, that actually quite large splatter. I fix it and I change it into a moon. And I think that was a great addition, because it just looked odd, it being there. I didn't want to restart and redo everything again, so I just changed it into moon, and that was much easier. And there's a tip there: if you find that you've maybe made a mistake somewhere, just take a step back and see what you could do to change it up without having to start again. I've lined up the sentiment, and I'm going to rub the card with some anti-static powder, because I'm going to do some heat embossing. And I like to use the Misty tool, and gently using some sticky ink, I stamp the sentiment and use Hero Arts white embossing powder to coat the sticky ink, which will then melt when I apply heat on top of it, and it reveals a white sentiment that's nice and bright and stands out from against the background. Using some foam squares, I pop the planets onto the panel, and the way I assemble these bits, I want it to be in a linear direction instead of all over the place. It's going top down, and yeah, I think that's it, right? There's me thinking I'm going to do something because there's something missing, and yes, some sparkle, but I didn't think about this too well, because distress inks, they react with water, and this pen has some water in it. It's the Spectrum Noir Sparkle pen, and yeah, the ink started moving, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be a hot mess. And you know what, I just went with it. I was cringing every step of the way, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be horrible, but what can I do? So I was just drying up so I don't murky up the colours too much. But in the end, I kind of did like it. So here I am trying to smudge so that it kind of blends in properly, but it's kind of okay. It does look like movement, I guess. I don't know, but it kind of worked out at the end. I'm okay with it. Onto the card base, I'm deciding between blue and black, so I'll go ahead and I use black. Yeah, I made a mistake. I'm trying to make a top folding card. So I do it again. This time I do it correctly. So I trim it at 5.5. Nope, I trim it at 4.25, and I score it at 5.5. That makes it a top folding card. But because my card is an A4 card, there is some extra, so I trim off that last bit of extra strip, and I now attach the panel onto the card base. I love this tape. It's the score tape, or people call it Be Creative tape. And there you go. This way I have it neatly aligned, except for I got off by the right side, so I just trim off the little bit that is hanging. Trim, and that should be my card complete. When I was making this card, the idea that I had for it was for it to show maybe the journey that the Quran took, or the journey that the angel took from heaven to earth to bring down the message. Well, this is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like it if you did, and see you next time. Bye!